Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Texas Coalition of Black Democrats, Dallas County chapter. It's on. It's just me talking low. How about that? All right. Welcome to the Texas Coalition of Black Democrats, Dallas County chapter. My name is Daniel Keeling. I serve as Vice President of Programming here with the chapter here in Dallas. We would like to thank our candidates for coming out tonight. We have two special guests with us. We have Vicki Goodwin here with us and Marcus Belize with us. Special thank you to the Dallas County Democratic Party for allowing us to use their building tonight. We would also like to let you guys know that we are streaming this online. So if you guys want to go online and look at our at our pages on Facebook or Instagram, Texas Coalition of Black Democrats, Dallas County chapter, and share that with your people on your pages. It'd be greatly appreciated. Or Texas Black Politics, you can share that there also. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to introduce our moderator for tonight. We have our special guest tonight, which is Brother Eric with a K Wilson, a native of Dallas County. He served as a city councilman here in Dallas. He's dedicated his life to empowering communities through leadership and service. Him and his beautiful wife over there, if I don't mention her, she might hit me upside the head. Senna have been married for over 25 years and the proud parents of 3 sons. He is a graduate of Business Management Center High School and earned a BA in finance from the University of Texas at Arlington, MBA in strategic leadership from Emerson University, and his commitment to the community has been recognized early through appointments to numerous City of Dallas boards and commissions. With that, I'm going to bring up our moderator for tonight, Mr. Eric with the K Wilson.
All right, good evening. I'm going to get this volume. Can you hear me? Good evening, good evening. Good evening. Testing, testing. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for coming tonight. You could be anywhere, but you are here, and we're glad that you're here to hear this important forum tonight. 2 great candidates from the Democratic Party. I will introduce them, and then we'll begin the process. So, how it will go, candidates, you will have a 3-minute opening. You will have a minute and a half, 90 seconds to answer, and a 3-minute closing. This is a time for you to discuss your candidacy, who you are as a candidate. It is not a time for you to tell us why your opponent does not like cornflakes or not. We want to hear about your candidacy. So with that, when you speak about what it is that you're going to do for the party and for the people that you want to represent. With that being said, I will read our bios, and then we will begin with the questions. All right, first, begin with Representative Vicki Goodwin, is serving her 4th term in the Texas legislature, representing House District 47 in Austin and Lake Travis area. She currently serves as the Appropriations Insurance Committees and has previously served on several key legislative committees, including Agricultural, Livestock, Environmental Regulation, Homeland Security and Public Safety, Urban Affairs, and select committees on community safety. A passionate advocate for public education and a proud public school parent, Vicki is committed to increasing funding for K-12 and higher education, strengthening public schools, and ending voucher programs that divert taxpayer dollars to private schools. She also focuses on improving affordability for Texas families by addressing housing, healthcare, childcare, groceries, utilities, and utility costs. With Texas facing some of the highest uninsured and maternal mortality rates in the nation, she supports creating a Texas-based health care plan to ensure affordability, quality care for all Texans. She earned her bachelor's administration in marketing with a minor in government from the University of Texas at Austin and her master's degree from the LBJ School of Public Affairs. Upon graduating in 1991, she received a diploma from Barbara Jordan. Vicki and her husband raised their family in Austin and have run a small business together, Goodwin & Goodwin Real Estate. In her free time, she enjoys traveling to visit her children and grandbaby. All right. Excuse me. Next, we have Marcos Velez. All right, I worked on that. I've been working on that. All right. He is the Assistant Director of the United Steelworkers District 13. As a labor activist, he represents workers across Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. He is a lifelong community advocate for Houston, where he was raised by his mother and worked in his grandfather's diesel shop. He previously worked as an oil industry maintenance and production worker before joining the United Steelworkers to fight for safer workplaces, better wages, and job security, work that eventually took him to the union leadership. He and his wife are raising their 4 children in the community where he grew up. Those are our candidates for tonight, and we will get started. Representative Goodwin, we will begin with you with your opening statement.
Thank you. Well, it is an honor to be here with you tonight. I am Vicki Goodwin. I actually grew up in Dallas. I went to UT, as was mentioned earlier, and then I stayed and raised my kids in Austin. So I am passionate about our public schools. That is my number one issue. The governor and lieutenant governor are going around the state saying that we increased funding by $8.5 billion last session. But the real truth is inflation caused a gap of $18 billion. And so we're still short. As I have traveled around the state, I'm hearing from school districts that are having to shut down schools, increase class sizes, cut programs, cut staff. It's really detrimental to our students, and we have got to change that. So my number one promise when I am lieutenant governor is we will stop the voucher scam, and we will pull back that $1 billion into our public schools, not private schools. My number two issue is health care. This week is Black Maternal Week, and it is a travesty that in Texas we have the highest rate of maternal mortality. This is a problem that could be addressed by studying the issue. But years ago, the Texas legislature closed down the office that kept data on maternal outcomes. And so without that data, we don't know how to address the issue. So that is something that's critically important, and I am dedicated to addressing the issue. When it comes to health care, there are a lot of issues. We never expanded Medicaid, so Texas has the highest rate of uninsured. We should expand Medicaid, but with how things are going at the federal level right now, I think we need a Texas plan to make sure that people can go see a doctor early on, get their needs taken care of when it is less expensive, and the outcomes will be better. My third issue is my background is as a residential real estate broker, and it breaks my heart when I see young people who think that they will never be able to buy a home of their own. So this last session I had a couple of bills, one to put downward pressure on rent prices, the other to expand an already existing program called Texas Homes for Heroes that provides down payment assistance and low interest rate loans for teachers and first responders. Finally, water. Water is a huge issue here in Texas. So we've got to focus on the issues that are important to people's everyday lives, not the divisive issues. Our current governor and lieutenant governor, it is time for change after them being in office for 12 years. Thank you, Vicki Goodwin, for Lieutenant Governor.
All right, thank you, thank you.
So first of all, thank you guys for allowing me to speak. My name is Marcos Velez. I grew up in Pasadena, Texas. Like the gentleman said, I was raised by my mother. She cleaned hotel rooms for $4.25 an hour. You look at the struggle that many politicians try to co-opt, and that was our lived reality. But then my mom got a union job, and life changed for us. We were catapulted up into the middle class. And that was my first lesson that when working class people are given opportunity, they don't just thrive, their children thrive. I went to go work in the oil industry, and shortly after starting, I witnessed my first workplace fatality. It was a mass casualty event, and the company was more concerned with us getting back to work than us processing what had happened that day. And so witnessing that spurred me to become a labor activist. That fight took me all across the state, fighting for higher wages better working conditions, and more opportunity, expanded health care access for people all across this state. I'm very proud to report that within organized labor, we have the only work sites where women are guaranteed to make dollar for dollar what men make, regardless of the work that they do. We have the only job sites where we have expansive health care programs that cover people from all walks of life, children, whether they're adopted, couples, no determinant on gender. And when you look at what we do within organized labor, those are things that all Texans need. And so I'm running for lieutenant governor because I know that women know more about their bodies than the politicians that we have in Austin. I know that DEI makes us stronger and it levels the playing field due to hundreds of years of economic oppression. And I understand that the genocides that we're committing on the other side of the planet will not stop unless we have people that are willing to be unapologetically progressive and fight for things that lift working class people up. My number one issue is raising the state minimum wage, expanding access to good family sustaining jobs for working class people, because I know what that does for communities and I know what that can do for Texas. And so thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to speak and look forward to answering your questions.
All right. All right. You know, they say that one of the most dangerous things you can do is hand a politician a mic or a pastor a mic. So I will say this. I forgot to mention that our timekeeper here will raise his hand when your time is up. So that way I won't have to jump and say, stop. All right. All right. So the questions will come fast and furious because since there's only two, so just be prepared for the next question. With that being said, I never want to assume that our audience understands who you are and what you're running for. You stated a little bit about who you are, but I want you to explain what does the lieutenant governor actually do, and what has prepared you in your past, either professionally or politically, for this position. And this first question, that will go to Mr. Velez.
Thank you. So look, the lieutenant governor is the one that prioritizes the legislation that moves through the Texas Senate. Amongst other powers, that's the most important thing that he does. As lieutenant governor, I would prioritize things that benefit working class people, legislation that raises wages, expands health care access, lowers cost for working Texans, funds our schools. And so I think for far too long we've had a lieutenant governor that's focused on partisan politics, culture wars, and hasn't focused on elevating the middle class or working class people within this state. When you look at what experience I have that would prepare me for this, when you look at everything that goes on within the Texas legislature, we're dealing with corporate money. Corporate money runs our government, and those same corporate interests are the ones that I fight against every single day as a labor activist and as a labor negotiator, and I win. The gains that we get within organized labor, we're always in the minority, and time again, we fight the power and we're successful. So I believe the role of the lieutenant governor is largely that of a negotiator, and I believe that the negotiating experience I've gained throughout organized labor is directly relevant, and it's what will make me successful in that role.
So the lieutenant governor heads the Senate, again, does set the priorities for the Senate, has a huge amount of influence on how your tax dollars are spent. As lieutenant governor, I can say, I am not going to pass a budget that has even $1 going to private schools in it, and the senators and the House are going to have to pay attention to that. The lieutenant governor has a lot of leverage. The current lieutenant governor uses that leverage and tells senators, if you don't vote for my bills, if you don't go my way, I won't let your legislation go through committee. The lieutenant governor has the ability to assign committee members, to assign the chairmen and chairwomen of committees, and to assign the bills to those committees. So it has a lot of influence on whether bills pass through the Senate to the governor's desk or not. It's an immense amount of power, and it really takes someone who knows the process, who knows the building, who knows the people. I have passed legislation with senators. In fact, Senator West here in Dallas had a bill around food resiliency to set up a commission to ensure that people are getting the healthy, nutritious food that they need. He asked me to carry it in the House. I got it passed, and it passed into law. I've passed legislation with many of the senators, and so I have built those relationships over the years, and I will have the ability to get things done, to step into that role, and be effective right away.
All right, thank you, thank you. Ms. Goodwin, this question is yours. How do you plan to ensure that the voices and concerns of Black Texans are represented in state legislation?
So I have already been doing this. After the murder of George Floyd, I put together an anti-racism advisory group to help me understand what legislation is helpful for the Black community. I also have worked with a group called Measure. It's a group that focuses on measuring outcomes. We worked on legislation that would have measured the discipline within our schools so that parents can understand how much discipline is happening and who is it happening to. As I said, I've worked with Senator West, but also there's the Texas Legislative Black Caucus. And this last session, Jolanda Jones had a bill that was great. It would have said that if you are in jail, you cannot spend more time in jail than even if you were convicted, your sentence would meet out. Because right now, people do spend more time in jail. That bill passed the House, passed the Senate, got to the governor's desk, and at the very last minute, the governor vetoed it. She plans to bring that bill back next session, and I will prioritize that.
Thank you.
I think representation matters. When you look, we've had just under 50 governors, just over 40 lieutenant governors, over 1,000 state senators in the history of Texas. When you look at the numbers, not one governor has ever been Black, not one lieutenant governor has ever been Black, and we've had less than 20 Black state senators. As the last standing Black statewide candidate, I think direct representation and reflecting the community is important. And so I would advocate for issues that would uplift the community, that would turn back some of the repressive policies in this state that people still feel to this date. And that's why I believe a message of economic populism is important. When I say that DEI levels the uneven playing field that people are still competing against, it's hard to win a race when you had when your opponent had a 200-year head start. And so I would look at elevating policies that would not only give the Black community voice, but also give them equal access to areas they've been boxed out of.
Right. Thank you. And this question will be for you. What is your plan to address disparities in educational resources and opportunities for Black students in Texas?
I think that starts with increasing the funding. When you look at how funding is doled out to our public schools, we leave a lot of revenue streams on the table that could close the budgetary shortfalls. We need to make sure that we increase the dollars per student. We spend a lot of dollars total, but the dollars per student that we spend within the state of Texas don't even rival more successful states like Massachusetts. We could go on. And so increasing the funding for our public schools, making sure that we're spending an appropriate amount of money per student, ensuring that schools that are in historically Black neighborhoods and communities receive the same resources as their Caucasian peers across town, I think is a good start. But then again, the other part of it is through apprenticeship programs. The lieutenant governor has a great amount of power over state-sponsored apprenticeship programs, and I think that programs where you earn while you learn are good programs to allow people to break out into careers that will help them sustain their families later in life, and we can start those early on within our schools.
So yeah, absolutely, raising the basic allotment. This last session, I'm on the Appropriations Committee, and we made the formula even more complicated. We only added $55 to the basic allotment, which is nothing. There was a recent study showing that our teachers are now making $5,000 less than a decade ago when you account for inflation. That's terrible. We've got to increase pay to our teachers. It's the state's job to fund our public schools, but I think it's the local school board's job to make sure that money is spent well. I believe in local control. It's really unfortunate that for so many years our state legislature has underfunded our schools. Again, when neighborhood schools are closing down, equity is so important too. This current administration has done everything it can to tear down DEI programs within our schools. So when I am lieutenant governor, we will bring back those programs because they have been shown to support students. Equity is incredibly important. We need to make sure our school districts are sending the resources where needed, and oftentimes it needs to go to our communities of color in the schools that are located there.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. This question is for you. Next question. How will you ensure mental health services are accessible and culturally competent for Black Texans?
We need more Black Texans to be going into the field of mental health. We need more mental health workers, and the state could fund programs to help nurses, to help mental health workers, to incentivize them to go into that field. People who are going to seek mental health need people who look like them. And so we need to incentivize more African American people going into that field.
Thank you.
I think when you look at mental health resources, we have to accept the fact that a lot of these historically Black communities are deserts for healthcare access. And so obviously by increasing the number of healthcare facilities within these communities, ensuring that we have appropriate funding so that we can pay professionals in case they have to relocate, but to draw in talent to the areas where they're desperately needed, and also ensuring that we have resources within our schools so that we can start addressing these crises at an early age so they don't progress and become prolonged problems. I think one of the things when you talk about addressing mental health, when we increase opportunities for the most marginalized people in society like our homeless, we can nip the problem in the bud. And so I think it's a multi-pronged approach, but ensuring that we have the proper amount of money allocated and the right resources going to these communities is the first step.
All right. All right. Before we begin, continue, I just want to thank those individuals who are watching us streaming this evening. And just to let our candidates know that when you're answering questions, speak to our audience that's online and the audience that's before you. I know you want to answer questions to me, but these are the individuals. There's more votes than me just out here. So just want to put that out there. Our next question. Marcos. This question is yours. In light of recent legislation affecting voting access, what measures will you implement to protect and expand voting rights for Black Texans?
I think we need automatic voter registration. I think when you look at the current legislation that we have on the books, we don't go far enough to ensure that people actually vote. We have a regime that's fighting tooth and nail to keep people from voting. And so we need to make it easier for people to vote with automatic voter registration. We need to make sure that we have resources to provide public transportation to polls. A lot of people, especially in marginalized communities, don't have the same access to transportation. We need to increase the number of polling locations, and I think that we need to make it easier to get mail-in ballots so that people can vote via mail. I think it'd be awesome if voting was something where everyone automatically had a ballot mailed to them and you opted out of your mail-in ballot. But I mean, hey, look, we're going to do what we can do, but I think those are good first steps.
Thank you.
So, yeah, we definitely need to make it easier to get registered to vote. Online, automatic, definitely needed. We also need to look at what happened in Harris County in 2020. They were very effective at coming up with things that got more people to vote. 24-hour voting, drive-through voting, more drop boxes for people to drop off their mail-in ballots. Y'all might not know, but I passed a law that allows women who just gave birth or about to give birth the ability to vote by mail. So that's one of the options on vote by mail. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't trust the mail service anymore, so not as many people are voting by mail these days, but that is an option. So there's a lot of things that we can do to make voting easier. Unfortunately, the Republicans keep going the opposite direction. That is why we went on a quorum break in 2021 to oppose the election bills that they were passing. We can turn things around when we get back in leadership.
All right. Thank you. All right. This next question will be for you. All right. What specific policies will you advocate for to address issues such as housing discrimination and environmental justice in Black neighborhoods?
So one is going back. Unfortunately, in the last session, they passed a bill that makes it easier to evict people. So making sure it's not easy to evict. Also, like I said, I have worked on housing affordability and had a bill that would have put downward pressure on rent prices. Making sure we are, again, having DEI programs available that gives people access to capital. I also tried to expand the Texas Homes for Heroes program, and that could help people of color to be able to get down payment assistance and low interest rate loans. We should be able to expand that easily. Unfortunately, again, the Republicans couldn't wrap their head around that program and expanding it. They said it would be too expensive, but it actually pays for itself. So those are some things that we can do to make sure people have the ability to have home ownership, which is a great start in being stable economically.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yes. What specific policies will you advocate to address issues such as housing discrimination and environmental justice in black neighborhoods?
Sure. When you look at housing discrimination within black neighborhoods, I think one of the biggest issues we have is when you look at zoning, a lot of times historically black neighborhoods and communities of color are built right around industry. And the neighborhoods were there first, industry popped up. Because no one wants industry in their backyard. We have to make sure that we have adequate funding for organizations like the TCEQ. We have to make sure that they have the proper regulatory authority to go after bad actors. We have to make sure that we have proper health services for people that have been negatively affected by industry and are suffering from a lack of environmental justice. And then when you look at the housing piece of that, I think that we have to make sure that gentrification does not push people of color out of neighborhoods where they've lived for generations. You see it all over every major city. As soon as a neighborhood starts to become trendy, the people that have lived there for generations are priced out through soaring property taxes, and we have to make sure that we have legislation on the books that protects people from that. And so those are some good steps, but again, I mean, long road to go down.
All right. With that being said, time flies when you're having fun. You know, when you talk to someone, that's good conversation, time goes by and you just want to keep talking and talking. But unfortunately, we've come to that portion of our forum tonight where we're getting ready for our closing statements. So as you're formulating your closing statements, we, again, want to thank each and every one of you all for coming out tonight and being part of this event. And with that, we'll begin with our 3-minute closing. Marcos, this is yours. We'll begin with you.
Again, I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to speak. It's always nice getting the opportunity to address a group of your peers. I think when we look at what's important to working Texans or people across this state, there are things that elevate families, there are things that expand healthcare access, there are things that provide a better quality of education for your children. People always say that education is the great equalizer. They tell you that an education is something that no one can ever take away from you. But our state government has done a really, really good job of taking education away from our children, of forcing people out of their neighborhoods, of eliminating opportunity within a state where once your opportunities were endless. And so I want to return control to the people. I think government should be for the people, by the people, and not run by career politicians. And so I believe that when we put our priorities back on things that expand healthcare access, raise wages, expand opportunity, eliminate discrimination, and provide a level playing field for all people, Texas will reach its full potential. So thank you guys very much for allowing me the opportunity to speak here today, and I'd be honored to earn your vote in the May 26th runoff. Thank you guys.
And before you go, I'm going to give you extra time too. Before you go, I know your campaign manager is probably kicking themselves right now because they're telling you, say how they can get in contact with your campaign and how people can reach you.
Sure. Yeah, so look, velez4texas.com, easiest way to get a hold of us. If you want to send us an email, it's very simple, info@velez4texas.com. Thank you. Oh, yeah, it's F-O-R, I'm sorry, F-O-R.
So I think we all agree on the major issues of the day. Our education system is being defunded by our current leadership. Our healthcare system is broken. Affordability is becoming a crisis. And water and energy are also a crisis here in Texas. You know, our current governor and lieutenant governor talk about the Texas miracle, but most people don't feel like they're living in a Texas miracle. The average person feels like they're struggling more and more, and we have to do better. But the thing is, we have not, as Democrats, won an election in 30 years, won a statewide election in 30 years. So what are we going to do? It really comes down to relationships. It comes down to each and every one of you in this room talking to your friends and explaining to them, why is it important to know who the candidates are for lieutenant governor? Why is it important to get out twice in May, once for municipal and once for a runoff election? It truly does count on each and every one of you in the room to talk to friends and get their friends to talk to friends and talk to organizations as well. So your issue might be maternal mortality and addressing that issue. Your issue might be the environment. Your issue might be gun violence prevention. Talk to people about what the candidates have done to address those issues in the past and what they plan to do going forward. I have worked on all of those issues on the Environmental Regulation Committee. I got myself in trouble because I asked too many questions and pushed too hard against the current leadership. On gun violence prevention, I served for 3 terms on the Homeland Security and Public Safety Committee, trying to make a difference to bring down casualties and harm that guns do in our state. And you know, it's a tough state to get anything done on that, but I did pass the Natalia Cox Act, which is a violence prevention law, which came about because of a young black woman in my district who was shot and killed. She was a Houston Tillotson student, and these issues are all critically important to us, so it's up to each and every one of us to get the word out. Thank you. Vicki Goodwin, goodwinfortexas.com is how you can find me and reach out to me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Let's give a hand clap for all our candidates.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out this evening. This is going to be a little bit different from your normal program that you come out to. Normally we take audience questions, but today what we're going to do is we're going to allow them to actually meet and greet, which is actually what was on our program, to actually meet and greet the candidates. So during the next time period, we're going to allow everyone to meet and greet the candidates and talk to them out here in the audience. So with that, we're going to end our program. I also want to mention our president here, Ms. Crystal Chisholm, who is the president of the Texas Coalition of Black Democrats Dallas County chapter. If you're not a member, we're always taking members. We will happily take your money tonight. So got to throw out that pitch. So we also have our secretary in the back, Ms. Aisha McClendon, in the back here with us, and we have some of our members who are online. Special shout out to our guy in the back here, Mr. Gabe Langley, who is running all of our social media tonight. This is something that we're adding new to a coalition with us. We're over 10 platforms tonight, so he's spreading the word all across the state. So it's not that you guys are in this small crowd here. Everybody across the state is now seeing this on several different platforms, and it will be run several different times before the election actually comes up. So we'd like to thank him for joining the coalition and being part of our team moving forward. All right, with that, we'll allow our candidates to come down. Do we have